I don't want to watch the Chiefs anymore. I really don't. And it's odd because I love Andy Reid and I love Patrick Mahomes and I love Arrowhead and I love the fans and I love their great history and tradition. I'm just chiefed out. And listen, I'm just going to put it out there as well. I did not think when, and this isn't the main reason, but it's a big part of it. I didn't think when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got together that, like, I remember when it first started, so many people were complaining, enough of Taylor Swift, too much. I'm like, yeah, it's not really bothering me. It's not really taking away from my enjoyment of the game. Something about Travis Kelce, who has turned into a complete douche.
Wow.
He just has. He absolutely. I'm tired. I can't anymore.
You didn't like the outfit yesterday?
I don't know what the way some men dress these days. I don't like. Dude, the flood's coming. They're up to his kneecap. What are you going to play cricket? What is wrong with some of these people?
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I didn't want the Chiefs in there. But do you think that we are not appreciating greatness? And by the way, the thing that you should appreciate, or we should all appreciate about the Chiefs, is that it's not the same exact team. Like, they've done this now, 5 of 6 years in the Super Bowl. They're in the championship, in the conference championship every year with Mahomes. But they have had different variations of their team. Defensive, run the football, obviously air it out, Tyreek Hill, all that. Mahomes and Reid are the two constants. We're watching arguably the greatest of all time in immediacy, where maybe it took the Patriots and Belichick and Brady over the course of 10, 15 years, you want to say whatever, their greatness.
Yeah.
But, dude, it's every year with this team. Are we not appreciating greatness the way that we should because we're all sick and tired of seeing Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and the same team over and over again in the biggest games that the sport has to offer?
Well, we might be. I mean, by the way, to your point, I think it's a good one because, the early iterations, you had Cheetah, he just sliced up the secondaries. They've transitioned, obviously. You know what I think it is? I think that this year, and I've said this a lot, because the Chiefs look different, and I know they scored some points yesterday, right? But a lot of nip and tuck games this year. They could have lost a bunch of games. Now, you could have, would have, should have. They didn't lose. It doesn't really matter. You either win or you lose. That's all that matters. But their dominance has kind of petered off a bit, which in a lot of ways should make me appreciate them more.
Right.
Because they are resourceful. And think about this. When you win Super Bowls and when you get to Super Bowls, other teams overvalue your ancillary pieces, your nickel corner, your fourth linebacker, your second or third wide receiver, whatever it might be. And they generally overpay in free agency. So, they've had to restock the covers. I think they're an amazing I really do. I think they're an amazing franchise. And usually, like with the Patriots, that was personal because of the Jets, or I just got tired of seeing LeBron and a little bit of Steph Curry in the NBA. There's nothing that I don't like about Kansas City except the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff. And I'm not a mean-spirited person in my core. Like, they're in love. That doesn't bother me.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'm happy for them. But I just feel like I myself, Sal, I want to see Josh. Now, I won't this year. I want to see how Josh Allen responds on the biggest stage. Like, that to me is interesting. And I think at this point, it's become more interesting than watching Mahomes play another Super Bowl.
I just would have wanted a fresh matchup. Like, we've seen this before. It was exciting when it first happened. Okay, the second time, cool. I guess going for a three-peat. And now, to your point, we're in an impossible spot to where those of us that have Chiefs fatigue have to root for the Chiefs because there's no way I'm rooting for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I hate them even more. My biggest issue, and I don't even think they've overdone it with the Taylor Swift-Kelce thing this go-round.
Well, because he only has a couple of... Listen, I can promise you, if he had 11 catches for 133 yards for 2 touchdowns, we'd see her all night. He's not the same player.
Understood. And maybe that's a big part of it, sure, but I don't feel like I'm getting Taylor Swift out this year. Last year, maybe a different story. My biggest issue with the Chiefs this year is that they never looked dominant. To your point, I never felt like when they were early on in their dynasty and were dominant, or the Patriots before they lost to the Giants in Super Bowl 42, that dominance, I can appreciate that more than hate it. And I don't hate the Kansas City Chiefs because they came from, they were a franchise that didn't have this great success. Like, hard to hate them.
Yes.
Even now,
as a matter of fact, it's actually very easy to like them.
Correct. Right. And it was a brand
And I
new
do.
thing. Right. So me too. So I don't hate them, but the frustrating part for me, and I think there's twofold here, and we'll get to the refs aspect of it in just a second.
Here we go again.
But for me, it's
refs.
that they didn't look dominant this year, and they kept winning these freaking games. Every time I was like, oh, they should be beat, and they kept winning. The only game they lost, I mean, they were 15-1 until they gave up the final game of the year. So maybe that's my biggest gripe with this, but that's just me. I know other people hate him. You mentioned your reasons. Other people have their reasons. For me, my biggest gripe with this team is that I don't think they're that good. But then you watch Mahomes yesterday when he needs to dump it
I know.
He doesn't make a mistake. Like you can't beat him. You can't beat him. That's the point. Costos is right. Like, you might as well join them. They don't get beat. It's been 3 freaking years. Nobody can beat them.
Well, I mean, they may have beaten them if a couple of calls went a different way, and I know we'll get to that, but there were obviously some bad spots, some situations that clearly hurt Kansas City. Yeah, and it really is amazing. Like, Mahomes is still fairly young. You know, if you look at him, I use like the young Jordan analogy. Like when Jordan came in, remember he put 60-something up against the Celtics in that playoff series in the mid-'80s. Like that, he was like a young Jordan. He was doing things, the no looks. He's a little quicker, maybe a little lighter on his feet. He still has the rocket, but he was just putting up stupid video game numbers. He's not that anymore. But you're right. When he's got to make that throw and thread the needle and move the sticks and break somebody's back, with a 12 or 13-yard run, he's got to respond, get his team in the end zone. He really is he's awesome.
All right, so how much of this do you think is a byproduct? Because that's what the majority, like, you don't like him because you're Swift and Kelce'd out.
That's really the only reason.
Right, and for me, I don't love them because I don't think that they were dominant enough to be a team, that should be warranted or worthy of going to the Super Bowl 3 straight years, whatever. I mean, they're here, so they obviously had that, but 15-1 or 15-2, it didn't look like that in the regular season. I do think the majority of people have an issue with the officiating. Where do you stand with that?
They were horrible yesterday. The spots were bad. I mean, balls that were either 50-50 balls or not catches were ruled as catches. I mean, honestly, the referees, they were atrocious yesterday. And, we could have very easily just started the show wailing about this, and we would just kind of want to lay some other stuff out because, quite frankly, I'm tired of doing this song and dance every time there's a big game. And it seems like more times than not, the Chiefs are the beneficiary of these calls. And maybe that's part of it as well. So I gave you the Taylor Swift, Kelce stuff. Do I really feel like the Kansas City Chiefs earned it? Yeah, I don't. I feel like the Bills were cheated a little bit, more than a little bit. Now, Josh Allen still had the football with, 3 chains to go, a couple of timeouts, get a field goal, score a touchdown, let's go, punch your ticket, get to the... He still had a chance to do it, and he did not. So I understand there's still a bottom line result that he did not accomplish, but... How many freaking times are the Chiefs going to get aided by the referees? It's ridiculous.
Yesterday was the first time. See, I'm not an officials, an umpire, whatever, refs thing. Like, I can't blame that. I know that sometimes there are reasons. If a ref makes a bad call, it helps another team win. But ultimately, if you look in the game, there were other plays that could have been made. Makes a bad call. To me, it's not always the lone reason, but it's what people fixate on. Yesterday was really the first time I was like, what? I thought that was a first down. And it just felt like...
Which one?
Yeah, well, exactly.
The Kincaid one, the Josh Allen run on the spot. I mean, yeah, multiple.
Both of those. And there were other times. Even last week when I saw Mahomes getting the benefit of the doubt with, like, roughing the passer when it shouldn't have been.
100%.
Okay, fine. But yesterday, I really was like, man, it just felt like... They're favoring the officials. However, that to me is not the reason why the Chiefs are moving on. I look at, let's just simplify it here. Mahomes, as great as Josh Allen is, Mahomes is better than Josh Allen.
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes, he is.
And number two, maybe even the greater disparity.
Head coach. No question.
There is, like, Allen's at least, I know Mahomes has all the records, but Allen is at least on par with Mahomes. There is no disparity. Like, you could see the disparity between Reid and McDermott. McDermott just gets out-coached every one of these freaking games. It's not even close. The disparity is far greater between Reid and McDermott than it is Mahomes and Allen. And those are the two reasons why the Chiefs continue their dominance.
All right, let me push back a little bit. I don't disagree. The gap between Reid and McDermott is sizable. There's no question about that. But, so, if the calls go differently, if the calls went the way they should have gone...
Right.
McDermott very well might be moving it. You see how we're splitting hairs.
But how about even putting himself in that position? How many times? By the way, the broadcast said, and we'll get to your calls here in a second. BT and Sal on the Fan 888-808-1019. They've said it on the broadcast yesterday. How many times is Allen going to sneak to his left?
Yep.
Romo said in meetings, the Chiefs said we're aware that he loves going to the left. After he said that, they did it 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, that's a good observation, and that's bad coaching.
Yes.
Because if it's being said in meetings, if Tony Romo's telling the entire free world, which he did, and then you just keep seeing him going left of center, same spot.
And it wasn't working.
It was not working. So I definitely agree with that part.
And those are obviously small sample sizes. But my point is that the Bills kept getting in these 4th and short situation, whether it's the goal line, whether it's midfield, they kept trying to do the same thing. And they kept getting stuffed. At some point, you think McDermott would, and that BT, and we'll get to the Aaron Glenn stuff, big day in Jetland.
Oh, yeah.
But that is why I would prefer the offensive guy over the defensive guy. But there's a lot more layers to it, of course. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Scott is in Manhattan. He starts us off. What's up, Scotty?
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Morning. Listen, first I want to say Josh played a great game. Nothing to feel bad about. But I'm not mad about the Chiefs because I want to see the three-peat. But that game yesterday was lost because, like I said, they stopped running the ball, and they started putting too much on Josh, and they stopped giving the ball to the running back. And like I said, I mean, the call's questionable, but I'm not going to say that, we can't argue that. Listen, you got to beat the other team. The refs don't make the game. But great game, but like I said, I want to see the three-peat, so I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, and thank you for the call, Scott. I mean, at this point, I want to see the three-peat, not for history or anything. I just don't want to see the Eagles win.
Yeah.
I don't even like this matchup at all. Like, to your point, it's not appealing.
Nope.
The matchup is not appealing to me on any level. Are there storylines? Sure, but I don't. When I'm in a spot where I have to root for the team that has already won 2 in a row to win again, and I don't have a choice. Like, that's what I'm rooting for. I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs, although, as the weeks go on here, maybe I start to think the Eagles could win this game. As of now, I do, but I'm definitely rooting for the Chiefs. That's not an appealing spot.
God, I wish Saquon was in a different city. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I wish he was still in this city. But if they couldn't do it, and we all know, well, most of us understand why they had to move on from Saquon because of the money and where the Giants roster is. But if he was anywhere other than the Patriots, the Dolphins, or the Eagles, and I'm still rooting for him. Like, I mean, he's
Right.
amazing. It would be such an easy decision. But I do not want the Eagles to win.
Right.
But I love Saquon.
We here can't. I mean, I know that guys here, Brunson, whatever. There's a lot of big. Aaron Boone, a big
Carl
Eagles
Anthony
fan.
Towns.
Aaron Boone, a huge Eagles fan. By the way, we'll have him in studio tomorrow, so make sure you don't miss that. Boone will be in studio with us, and we'll have some fun with him, talking some Yanks and have the pull your card stuff. So we look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of Eagle fans around here that are associated with our teams. But come on, how can we in New York ever root for Philadelphia? Even if you're an AFC East fan with the Jets.
Yeah.
You can't root for the Eagles.
Well, I mean, it's easier if you're a Jets fan, but I still don't think it's necessarily acceptable. It's too
Philly,
close to
it's still
Sixers
Philly.
residue.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not a Giants fan, there's a great chance you're a Knicks fan, which means you can't root for Philly because that's where the Sixers are. Like, you find something to hate.
Yeah, and that's why we're in a spot where we got to root for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
tired of. Brian is in West Caldwell. What's up, Brian?
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey.
Hey, so quick question. BT, earlier you said, like, you're Chiefs out and everything. You don't want to see the Chiefs win. And I get that.
Yeah.
But as a Jets fan, why did you want to see the Bills win?
That's very interesting, and I'm happy we get this out of the way early in the show. I admit, first of all, Brian, I'm completely in the minority on that. I get it. First of all, I like Bills fans. They're a little nuttier than Jet fans, but I believe, like, if the Giants didn't exist, because we know that, Jets-Giants split, maybe 60-40 Giants, maybe 55-45, whatever. Advantage Giants fans clearly over Jet fans, but imagine if the tri-state area was just Jet fans. I think that it would very much resemble the way the Bills fans are. Like, they're nuts, they're amazing, and the Bills... really, when Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith and those guys were going bonkers, the Jets were never really in the picture, so they didn't snatch my soul from that perspective. I can't stand Belichick and Brady as a duo, and respect, but you know what I mean. And I can't stand Kraft and the Patriots and their cheating ways. I can't detest, abhor the Dolphins as a kid, the whole Marino stuff, and kids in my neighborhood wearing those stupid colors, teal and orange and white. I mean, I just never liked the Dolphins. The Bills, I never had a problem with the Bills. I feel like the Bills are the Jets. They're just 7 miles north.
They're relatable to the majority of sports fans because they are a tortured fan base.
Yes.
I mean, how could you not empathize with that?
They're relatable.
Even if you are a Jets fan or an AFC East fan, look, and I'm sure that there's some hate. I think Evan is the opposite of you. Like
he's completely the opposite.
Fine. And I respect that part of it. I get it, the interdivision battle, fine. But if you take a step back for a second, come on. How could you not want to see that franchise? Forget even the fans. Josh Allen. What's not to love about Josh Allen and having him get over them? Now, you want to say you don't want him to win the Super Bowl? Fine. But at least beating Mahomes, getting to the Super Bowl, having that fan base taste something that hasn't happened since 1993 or whatever it was, and then maybe, eventually winning one. To me, I empathize with the underdog and a fan base that has been tortured for years.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Buffalo is as blue-collar as it gets. I know they're going to get the new stadium, but that stadium is old and fairly dilapidated. Like, there's no buzz. Being up there is not sexy. You got the winter basically starts Halloween, and I mean winter, and it rolls until late April, sometimes early May. Like, they have a tough existence up there, and they are all in on their team, and I respect that. Maybe I'm playing mind games with myself, and maybe in my own twisted way, I rationalize, I don't know, relating to them. If they can punch through, maybe the justification for me is I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I love Josh Allen, and I really do. Outside of some of their fans are insane, but I just like what they have going on up there. I respect it. They're all in.
Evan is in Morristown, New Jersey. What's up, Evan?
Hey, Ev.
How you doing, guys?
Good. What's up?
What's going on?
Just listening like I normally do in the morning, and you guys have an interesting take on this. Like, it's the two best teams of the year, and you guys aren't interested in watching that?
I'd love to watch Jaden Daniels 2 weeks from now. And I really would.
Yeah, and
you're going to be able to see him next year.
I understand that, but of course but we had a real chance to see him this year. I prefer to watch Jaden Daniels. I think he's that good.
I agree. I think he's that good also. But there's something to be said for the two best teams playing in the Super Bowl at the end of the year.
But you don't know that they were the two best teams. I mean, the Lions, for a large part of the year, were the best team over the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Well, they had, I don't know, countless injuries on one side of the ball to the point.
I get it. No, look, Evan, you're not making a bad point. Thanks for the call. I'd rather watch a more intriguing matchup than just, these could be the two best teams. If the Bills got in, you could argue that they were one of the best teams, or the Ravens, who were even better than I think the Ravens were the best team in the AFC. Now, they didn't beat the Bills, and look, these things happen. Like, you can blame the refs all you want. Maybe if the Bills didn't screw up losing some of those games in the regular season to the Ravens, to the Rams, maybe they would have the home field advantage and things would have been different.
Yep.
They were able to beat the Ravens, who I think were the most talented, most dangerous team, and maybe if the Ravens faced the Chiefs, they could have pulled the upset off, better coached, Lamar maybe more dangerous. Again, I don't know. Nobody's been able to do it, but I think it's really, even though the Chiefs have been a dynasty here, BT, I think it's splitting hairs this year in the AFC.
Remember how we were talking last week, Sal, about how circumstances often fade, and how players remembered is not necessarily reflective of how the team or the circumstances, like details kind of fade away over time. That's what's going to happen to Josh Allen. Like, let's just say that they never get to a Super Bowl, which means obviously he never wins one, which means that he will never, no matter if he throws for a gazillion yards and a trillion touchdowns, he's never going to be elevated to a place that he probably deserves to be because of the importance and the emphasis on Super Bowls for quarterbacks. We know. Well, in the playoffs against Mahomes, just against Patrick Mahomes, right? This is uncanny. Mahomes has thrown 12 touchdowns. Allen's thrown 11. Mahomes has one turnover. Allen has one turnover. And Mahomes has thrown for 1,299 yards. Allen for 1,306. They are basically mirroring the stats, but then you get to the head coach.
Yep.
You get to the referees, the other components. We'll forget about, maybe we won't. Many people will forget about this down the road. They shouldn't.
One last note before we break, and we'll go back with your calls, and we'll get to a lot of stuff today. We get the Jet stuff. We get the Met stuff from over the weekend, but we'll continue this conversation. One quick note before people start saying, the two best teams. The plus minus, the differential, which I use it to back up what my eyes see week in, week out.
Talking about turnover for the regular season or the playoffs?
I'm talking about point differential.
Oh, point differential, gotcha.
Whole regular season. Because the caller said, you get the two best teams all year long.
Mm-hmm.
That is not accurate. The Bills were plus 157.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens plus 157. Just want to throw a guess out there what the Chiefs were?
I'm going to say about plus 60.
Yeah, plus plus 59. I mean,
pretty good guess.
Yeah, come on. Not even close.
Good start to the week, Sal.
Yeah, I know, not bad.
All right.
And then in the NFC, and by the way, that's not the be-all, end-all, but it just shows you, like, the other two teams were more dominant.
No
Week
question.
in, week out than Kansas City, who's been playing with fire.
Well, I never had them ranked in my power rankings, and I always reference the point differential.
When we did the power up, that's a big part of it. And then the Eagles are plus 160, which is good.
Yep.
Any guess at Detroit?
Oh, God, Detroit. Now, their defense wasn't quite, but Detroit was hanging 40 and 50 on people. What was Philly's number? What was Philly's number? 190?
Plus 220.
That high.
222, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, if Detroit got in the Super Bowl against the Ravens, you could say that, hey, these are the two best teams. These teams deserve to be there, Kansas City and Philadelphia. I don't know if I would say definitively they were the best teams all year long.
When this thing started, I wanted Detroit and I wanted Buffalo from the fans' perspective. And then I would have loved to have seen Jaden Daniels. You know, as I said, it's the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch. It's not the matchup I wanted to see.
BT and Sal on the Fan. More calls when we come back. 888-808-1019.
Yeah, can't wait to hear about